Well, we're live on HOGGOUT. There's a few people that have got on board here. Anna Palm, welcome again. Paul Jefferson, thanks for that coming on. But we've got a big game tonight, haven't we? KKR taking on Sunrisers Hyderabad in a qualifier. Whoever wins goes straight to the final. Whoever loses gets a second chance down there in Chennai. And what do I think about it? Let's see after this little break. Rightio, we've got Kolkata versus Hyderabad up there in Ahmedabad. Now, Kolkata were just up there recently. They got washed out. Hyderabad were up there earlier in the season and could only manage to post around about 168 from what I can remember. So it's not a good hunting ground for them as such with their batters. But let's get into it. What have I got in store for you? Who's the first one up here, please, AK? Get the first couple of people up here that we want to talk about tonight, and it's the two openers that I'm really looking forward to tonight. Gurbaz comes in to bat with Narayan. Narayan has been sensational this year. And then we got Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head over the other side as well, and they've been very, very dominant. But the only thing here is KKR just have kept the momentum through the season. And the other two over the other side, especially Travis Head, has been a little bit hit and miss. But Sunrisers will be happy that this guy is not playing tonight. There's a little bit of salt just rusting at the edges of Kolkata Knight Riders at the moment. He's not there tonight. He is going to be a big, big loss because he powers away and really takes the pressure off Narayan. So Gurbaz has got a little bit of a tough shoes to fill, should I say, tough shoes to fill tonight. Rightio, AEK, just get us on to the next people that we've got here just to highlight in tonight's game. And this is the big hitters out the back, the final overs. This is where Kolkata Knight Riders could really take the game away from SRH tonight because they've got big Andre Russell, Rinku Singh, and Ramadeep Singh there who just blaze away in those final overs. And then you've got a few youngsters over here with Sunrisers Hyderabad with Samad, should I say, and Ahmed and Singh as well. But I just don't think they'll be able to dominate the dominance of the ball that KKR have out the back end, especially if they use Narayan and Chakravarti against those two particular players. Now, there's some highlights that we're going to look at tonight. Who have we got on board, AK? The spin kings of KKR, Chakravarti and Narayan, especially Narayan in those middle overs. He's got a run rate of under 8, 7.5, and that's very good with the way that batting dominating this year in this IPL. Narayan's just been able to hold things up in those middle overs, and Chakravarti has been dynamite over the last half of this season. I thought he was pretty ordinary. He lost a bit of control early on in the season, but he's fought back well, and these two are really going to make it difficult tonight for Sunrisers Hyderabad batsmen. And can we move along here? Is it going to be KKR spin? No, the first matchup that we're going to look up for tonight is Mitchell Starc against Travis Head. Mitchell Starc has not been how can I put it? He hasn't been in the highlights reel this year, but I think he hasn't bowled too badly. He's bowled full, tried to get the ball to swing, and when it hasn't swung because of the flat wickets, opposition teams have been able to take him away. But he's starting to find a little bit of form, and it's hot up there. Could be a little humid as well. I reckon Mitchell Starc will get a little bit of swing and trouble Travis Head early tonight. Watch out for that matchup. And as I said before, Travis Head is a bit hit and miss. And Mitchell Starc, if he gets the ball to swing, Travis Head, no footwork, watch out. I think the Kolkata are fast bowler will just give Travis Head a little lesson before the World Cup starts over there in America and the West Indies. The next matchup that I'm really looking forward to tonight, and this is a big one, because Sunrisers Hyderabad, when they get out of the power play, they start to fade away. and they have done over the last month. So they've got to pick things up here. Klasan the other night against spin was sensational, but he's playing off the back foot, and he's up against two mystery spinners tonight. Look out for Sunil Narayan and Chakravarti. Just try and be a little bit fuller with their length tonight and try and get Klasan to come forward rather than play back, where he's looking for that 5 to 4 metre length and ball hitting top of off stump, where he's just on that back foot looking to hit straight down the ground. He's doing it well, but I think these two spinners tonight might have his measure. So watch out for the Kolkata Knight Riders spinners being a little bit fuller tonight. Are there any more matchups that we've got tonight, please, AK? Can you get that through? Moving on. And yes, out the back end. Sunrisers Hyderabad bowlers out the back end have been struggling, and that's Natarajan and Pat Cummins. They might even look to try and get Bhuvneshwar Kumar to have a few overs up his sleeve, because he's been in the best of their best death bowler in the last couple of months, or last month, should I say. I was going to say last couple of weeks. The tournament's only 2 months, Brad. So they might try and use Bhuvneshwar Kumar against Rinku Singh and Andre Russell, because these two can really slaughter teams out the back end. Rinku Singh hasn't had much of an opportunity this year, but he might get an opportunity tonight to really shine. And I think both Andre Russell and Rinku Singh will be too good for Sunrisers Hyderabad tonight. And you can probably work out which team I'm going for this evening, because I'm wearing my old playing jumper. But we've got a couple of guests coming up on the screen. Can we get them up, please, AK? I want to get them on. We've got Jagan from America. Jagan, how are you, mate?
Very well, Brad. Thanks for having me tonight. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure meeting you too, mate. You're over in Washington, D.C. Where is springtime?
Yes, I am.
Yep. So, and you go for Chennai Super Kings. Why was that?
Well, I was born and raised in Chennai before moving to the United States 25 years ago. Chennai being Chennai has a lot of cricket fans, and I'm one among the several million of them. So still keep up with the game after being, here for so long. But first and foremost, I love cricket. So Chennai comes next.
Yep, Chennai comes next. That's fantastic. And you'll be going for Sunrisers Hyderabad tonight, I'd presume, being a Chennai boy. Yep,
that's a Chennai team. That's a Chennai team, technically.
Well, it is. They're both from down south. Yeah, they're both from down south. Just before we get on to Ishan, you're a big follower of cricket, and you used to, when you were growing up in Chennai, you were telling me before you just sneak into the radio and just tune into what was happening down there in Australia. Who was your favourite Sheffield Shield team back in the 70s and early 80s?
Well, I would hate to say this. The New South Wales. The New South Wales. I wish I told you Victoria.
Yeah. No, well, if you said Victoria, that would have been even worse, me being from WA. So we play a lot of Aussie rules against Victoria, West Australia versus Victoria. So there's a love-hate relationship there. And you going for New South Wales, that would probably sound more like you're from Mumbai rather than Chennai, because Mumbai are those tough type people, whereas Chennai, a bit like West Australia, is just level-headed, calm, cool, collect. So, but it's great to have you on, Jagan. Now, Ishan, we've got you on again from Kolkata.
Yeah, hi. It's glad to be here back.
Yep. No, it's fantastic, and I can see this. I can see the smile on your face. We're happy, both happy that Kolkata Knight Riders are in the finals tonight, and we both hope that they do pretty well. But we've got to be level-headed here, and we've got to make sure that we keep it nice, cool, calm, collect, and we play fair play here, because we don't want to make Jagan uncomfortable. But anyway, first question from you, Ishan, for the season, for tonight. Have you got a question for us? Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So around the IPL and the World Cup coming up, I have heard a question from many of them around that Aussie mentality that is going to come with Pat Cummins joining the Australian side. It was also there during the World Cup, and even the SRH fans are confident that they are gonna win this IPL. So what is this Aussie mentality? Is it really even a thing, or it is just a thing that is said to like decrease the confidence of the opponent?
Look, I think it's just trying to increase the confidence of SRH. So don't worry about Pat Cummins. He's all talk. But look, one thing with Pat Cummins, I've heard it in the media just recently with SRH just before today's game, actually. And it's just about getting the players in a good frame of mind. And he gets them to know their roles. He gets them to work out the game plans themselves, and then come to him and they talk about it and make sure they're clear and concise when they go out and play. And when it comes to the batting, he's just trying to tell them to go out there, back themselves, and play with freedom. And that's probably the Aussie mentality. And if I look at things over the last couple of years, Pat Cummins and a couple of other players tried to move Justin Langer on from coach. Justin Langer did a wonderful job up until that period. He turned the culture of Cricket Australia around. Then Pat Cummins, a little bit more mature, he was the captain. He wanted to take Australia in a different direction. There was always going to be concern whether it was going to be right and wrong. If it didn't go right, Pat Cummins was really going to get a caning from the media and the Australian public. But he didn't. He set the tone. He knew where he wanted to take it. He set the plans. He got the players that he wanted in play, and he backed them, and they're all following. And a leader, a true leader, is a person that has people following them because they want to follow. They don't have to follow, but they want to follow, and he's got them following him. And it's exactly the same there at SRH. And he's just showing what a true leader he is by rocking up there, not knowing too many of the local Indian players. And from ball one, you could see the harmony that he created from straight away. And that's why they talk about the Aussie mentality. And that's why it's a big concern for Kolkata Knight Riders tonight, because they've got that harmony in the team, and they've got all that self-belief that Pat Cummins has created in that environment. And by the way, too, they've got Vittori, who's the head coach that's been around the Australian team for the last couple of years as well. So there's a little bit of Aussie influence all around there at Sunrisers Hyderabad. So, yeah, good question there, Eshan. Jargon, let's move over to you, over to America.
There you go. So if you look at it, the KKR has not played a single game in the last 10 days, if I'm right. I guess 2 of their last games were abandoned due to rain.
Yep.
So do you think that's going to be a bit of an impact tonight? And do you think they have what it takes to make a nice dinner without salt in it?
I love the analogy there. I love the analogy. I think the 10 days break where they haven't been playing and they've been washed out, I think it's going to play a big factor in this final season or in the finals campaign if they lose tonight, because they've had enough rest to be able to have a short turnaround, go to Chennai and play that next game. So for me, I think it's been a big advantage to Kolkata Knight Riders in that respect. But the thing is, they've had great momentum throughout the season. They've won most games, and you want to continue that momentum. So that 10-day break might just play on the back of the mind throughout the tournament, especially for the younger players that are in the team, especially for Vora and Rana, the 2 bowlers. I think that will be it will play probably havoc on them. Gurbaz will be a little bit nervous as well. So those 3 areas would be the concern for KKR, but I think Gambia would be getting them mentally right for the season or for this evening. And I think for Russell and Narayan, I think it's been perfect for them to have the break, because they are older brigade in the team. And also Narayan has done a lot of work with the bat as well as the ball, and he probably deserved that break. And it's better to have a forced break than a break where you've been rested. So for me, I think the break probably suits Kolkata Knight Riders more than if they play the 2 games. But that's a very good observation, Jargon, and I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yep.
All right.
Ishan, we'll go back to you.
Okay. So my next question is, how badly does the body start giving up in your early 40s? Like Dhoni is struggling to bat more than 3 overs, and Chris Gayle, when he was around in 40, 41, he barely used to run. He used to hit sixes or either play dot balls. While on the other hand, you have played for more than 45 years, I guess, and even Brad Hodge for that matter, or Praveen Tambe has played for a lot of years. So, what is the scenario, and how do you guys take this on?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the 3 of us, we two of the guys that you mentioned were spinners that played into their late 40s. So that's a little bit easier on the body, but you still got a field. Brad Hodge was batting as well, playing those big shots. Someone like Dhoni behind the stumps, I think it's one of the toughest things for a cricketer to be behind the stumps, then go out and do what he does with the batting. So I think it's great that he's still playing. But for the body, it's the way that you look after yourself. It's as simple as that. It's what you put in, how you keep your fitness up, and what you're doing with the fitness program as well. So just talking about how fit I was, I went for a run today, and I think I've just pulled something behind on the right hamstring at the present moment. So I'm a little bit sore now. But I think for MS Dhoni, I just think with the short travel time and then being behind the stumps, I think it's quite tough for him. And there were a couple of moments there where he moved to his right, and there was one catch that he took, but you could tell that he wasn't as sharp as what he was last year. So I think as much as everyone wants him to play next year, I think this might be his last season, which will be disappointing. But it's going to be interesting, exciting to see how the fans turn out next year, especially in yellow, because there's a lot of yellow shirts with 7 on it. And I just hope Chennai continue the support that they've got, and people don't turn their backs on Chennai because Dhoni's left. Just hopefully we find another hero for the team in yellow if he does fully retire next year. And I think it'll be a big risk if they try and keep him because you've got a mega auction this year. And if you pay big money for him, and he's going to find it hard to play for the next 3 years before the following mega auction, that might put a big dent on Chennai moving forward. So if he's going to commit, he's got to commit for 3 years and make sure he looks after his body. But he's been sensational. That's a good observation. Chris Gayle, he didn't need a run. He just had to sit there and be cool. But yeah, he was exciting for the game. I think one thing that Chris would probably be upset with is he would have liked to have won a few more titles than what he did. And that's the thing. Sometimes you get that entertainment value, which is very important for the game, but giving that entertainment value, sometimes you lose on the victory stand as such. And I think there's a quote out there just recently over the last 2 days. Joe Root and Nathan Lyon, they were out in the middle of a pitch at the ground, and pleasantries were exchanged, and Joe Root's just gone to Nathan Lyon, no more draws. This is for Test cricket. We're here to win or here to entertain. And that's what cricket is. We're there to entertain. And I think the fans have got to realise that as well, that players go out there, yes, they want to win, but they're also paid to entertain as well. So you've got to get that right balance right. It's a good question with age. You want to go as long as you can, but the body just says sometimes you can't keep going. So yeah, it's up to them. But good observation there. Now, Jargon, we'll go back to you over in Washington DC.
All right, I got to ask you this question about the dew factor in cricket, especially in IPL games played in India around this time of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's a 2-part question. Okay. The first part is in playoffs. in crunch games like these in particular, there's always this pressure of teams chasing a total, right? Because there is a factor that would you still recommend teams win the toss and bat first or ball first? Because should you give due and still a higher importance or chasing? That was one question. The other question is, do you reward teams a bonus point or half a point, right? Just to negate this due factor. So when they go toss, right? And if they choose to bowl second, right? Which means they bat first. And if they win the game, they get a half a bonus point.
I reckon if you get to bowl second in due conditions, I think you should get a bonus point anyway, because it can be quite tough. And the other reason why I say you get a bonus point for it is because you're asked to bowl within a certain time period now, so you don't have that extra time where you can fluff around getting the ball right and getting the ball dry. So with that extra pressure and there's dew around, you get the extra point. But the umpires have got to decide early whether dew is going to affect the context of the game or not. So they've got to do that earlier than just say, well, the last 5 overs there was dew. So they've won, we'll give them that extra point. You've got to have it in context. The dew's got to be affecting it for at least 3/4 of that innings. And what was the first question? With the playoffs.
The playoffs.
Yeah, with playoffs, I think they should be trying to bring the game forward a little bit so that dew doesn't play that or have a big effect on it. So for me, I think they could at least bring the game forward an hour and start it out 6 o'clock. For me, I think for the better contest, for the eye, and to have all parts of the game involved in having an even contest, I think they should bring it forward an hour. But then you've got TV controlling it as well, which is a big factor. So TV have got to turn it around. TV's the problem, Jargon. The old money, yeah. So a bit of a worry there. Eshan, how we going there, mate? You got another question?
Yeah. So the next question is, what is that one thing that Big Bash has that you'd love to see in the IPL? And conversely, what is that one thing that IPL has and you think Big Bash should also adapt?
One thing that Big Bash has that the IPL doesn't. I don't think they have anything that I think could add to the IPL. For me, probably the better conditions that we have over here. Probably the pitches. The pitches are a little bit more even than what we've seen in this year's IPL. That's probably one thing that I'd add. And especially when you've got the impact player to come in to add that batting depth as well. I just don't want to see fast bowlers getting pounded all the time. But they've got to adapt. And the good thing that I love about the IPL this year is they've brought in this 2 bouncer rule per over. I think that's great, because then you can set a batsman up. And I think you've seen a lot of batsmen not going to the ramp shot as often as they were in previous years, just because of that particular delivery. There's still players like Maxwell and Dennis Cardick that go to it quite often, but other players have really put that shot in the cupboard. So that's a really good question, that one. But yeah, I think the impact player too has made a difference. I know that Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma have come out and said they don't want it to go any further than the IPL. They'd rather go back to the old rules. But I think we've got to move the game forward, and I think we've got to have that impact player, especially when you've got conditions changing, like dew might play havoc tonight, so you can bring in another bowler. So if you're gone for a spin option, but it's not spinning, then all of a sudden you can chop and change your bowling department and bring in a pace bowler if you haven't used the extra batsman in the first phase. So, tactically, I think with changing conditions with T20 cricket this time of year, you really need that impact player. I'd like to see the impact player actually in this T20 World Cup as well. I think it might be important. I think New York, especially with wickets over in America, I'm not quite comfortable whether they're going to be fully up to international standard. I think there's going to be some demons there. Hopefully not, but with those demons, if there are, an impact player could really change the contest or the entertainment value of the competition. What do you guys reckon, actually? You asked the question, Ishan. What do you think about the impact player? And then we'll go to Joe.
So
Hey?
the impact player rule is not something that I am a big fan of. The game has completely turned into the batsman side rather than being equally distributed on both ends. Like KKR is playing a batter at number 8 who doesn't bowl at all, and still they are playing with only 6 bowling options in spite of exercising the impact player and get another 2-3 overs when your bowlers are getting bashed for some 260 runs. So I feel that a game has become a bit biased on that side. Like they are giving more preference on adding batters rather than making their bowling more wholesome.
Right, yeah, good observation. What about you, Jagan?
Well, I'm not a big fan of it either, but you got to understand, changes do happen, right, in life. Sometimes you got to find a way to adapt to the changes. But this rule is actually being discussed quite a bit, I guess, over the last couple of months, ever since this came into play in this IPL. I keep reading reports saying that the Board of Cricket Control in India is strongly thinking about reconsidering it. I think some of the big names like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli have been very vocal about it. They have not so good things to say about this rule. So I do not know. We have to wait and watch to see if their words have any impact over the fans' preference. Because if the cricket board is doing this to see more sixes and more boundaries, to bring more people to watch the game, so be it. Bowlers got to find a way to deal with it.
No, exactly right. And I actually go back to a point that Eshan made there. You can bat a little bit deeper, which is right. But then someone was saying a couple of weeks ago that the all-rounder, we've lost the impact of the all-rounder in T20 cricket. But with your statement there, you're batting deep to 8. If you've got a couple of good all-rounders, you can even bat to 9. So the all-rounder factor is still a part of it with the impact player. But I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it move forward with an impact player in there, because I think it's a little bit more exciting. But I do also agree with both of your points there with where it is too. I like that traditional aspect of it. We've got to find it. We've got to find somewhere where it's quite even. I think when we come to the T20 World Cup, an impact player would benefit more the associate teams more than the big name teams. So it would be good for them to have an impact player role, but not so much for when we're seeing Pakistan play India or Australia play India, England, the big names. Yeah. So what was that? CSK what? I didn't read that. I was too busy talking to the other two. CSK have won the toss, is that right? And chose to bat first.
SRH, you mean?
Yep. Yes, SRH. Did I say CSK?
It's all right.
Yeah, but Jargon, you put me on.
I don't mind that.
You're a CSK fan.
I don't mind that at all.
SRH choosing the bat first. Do you guys think that's a good thing or a bad thing for you, the team that you're following? I'll go to you just first, Jargon.
Did you say they won the toss and chose to bat first?
Not
or
sure. Just got thrown. I got that thrown up by AK behind the scenes there. Thanks
where
very much for
they
AK.
or are they put into bat?
No, they chose to bat. They chose to bat. Yep.
They chose to bat,
Yep.
which
So they won the
is a
toss.
good thing. And I like that idea because I'm not too sure about the dew factor. I do not know what kind of soil that they're playing in. Is it black soil or whatever? But crunch games, big games, go put the runs on the board and let the opponent chase. I like it.
What about you,
probably it's
Eshan?
old-fashioned.
Yeah, go on. Yep.
Probably it's an old-fashioned way of thinking, but I'm a big fan of it. So.
Yeah, no, I prefer to get runs on the board. Always prefer to get runs on the board, no matter what the game, but especially in finals. What do you think, Eshan? I'm just reading another screen here to see what they've said there.
Yeah, so if SRH continues to bat the way they have batted throughout the tournament, it really doesn't matter. But I think this is the best that could have been there for KKR, since they would have a way to negate SRH's batting somehow. And if they do so, they will have a decent target in front of their eyes. So there won't be more things to look at, and they would simply approach the game over by over, in spite of having to set a target and then defend it against the guys like Abhishek and Travis Head. They can mentally bully you.
Mm-hmm. I think SRH are a better team that set the total than chase it. And talking about the wicket, just looking at Shreyas Iyer's comments there, he would have loved to have bowled. So that's a good sign. They wanted to bowl first, and that's a pretty good statement to say, well, you've chosen the bat, we wanted to bowl. So thanks very much. With soil, surface. I'm actually surprised that SRH actually chose to bat, considering that you've got Narayan and Chakravarti. Not so much with Narayan, because Narayan's pretty canny no matter what the conditions are. But with Chakravarti, I just think they could have really done more damage with him if they batted later on in the evening, if dew played a big factor. Would you agree with that or not? Jargon, you can go first.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely, those two guys have been phenomenal throughout the season. In fact, I was going to ask you about those two spinners in particular. They have bowled absolutely throughout this IPL. So whether they bowl first or they bowl second, they're going to have a great impact on the game. So, and Calcutta has definitely done a lot of good with these two bowling the middle overs.
Yeah. No, exactly right. And while you're there, while you're on that comment, I'm a little bit worried about Rajasthan Royals finishing third, because they needed that second chance. They needed to get down to Chennai where it turns a bit, because they've got two quality spinners as well. And I don't think, I'm just a bit worried that they won't get full effect here. So we'll see what happens in that regard, even though there is a bit of there might be a bit of chance that it does suit spin here. What about you, Eshan?
So Naren and Chakravarti have been there for around 4 years now, and from what I've seen of Chakravarti is he can leak runs at times. So especially in the first innings, when the opposition is batting more freely as compared to the second innings, he can leak runs. And against Klaasen, he has got a bad record from what I can recall from the first match. So Chakravarti is a bit of dicey, but from Naren, we can expect a 24 to 30 run spell.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you talk about Chakravarti to Klaasen belted him for 4 sixes in the 2 overs I think he bowled to him. I think Narayan only got 2 balls that he could bowl to him through that game. That was one of the first games of the tournament. I think that was the first game that KKR played this year. So it's a long time back, and Chakravarti has turned things around, which is really good. And I think that's one thing that SRH have to do tonight. They've got to make the most of the power play. Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head have got to be very aggressive, and they've got to try and get Kolkata to bowl Narayan in the power play. If they can do that, they'll give themselves a big chance of winning, because that's less overs that Narayan is going to bowl to Klasan. And I think that matchup, Klasan-Narayan, is going to be a big factor in tonight's game. Would you agree with that, both of you? Jargon first?
Absolutely. I do agree, but I also think, like you said, what happened before in the season is hardly a matter, because playoffs is playoffs. It's a different beast altogether. This is where the big boys show up. So people who got the stuff is who's going to put their hands up and get the job done. I've seen this time and again in cricket. I watch a lot of NBA, NFL. You play the whole season. NBA is like 82 season long, but come playoffs, there are a couple of characters that show up totally a different, color altogether. So what happened before, Klaasen, Varun matchup, all of that is going to be of less of an impact.
Yep, definitely. What about you, Eshan?
In that match, there was only Klaasen, and now we have Klaasen, Abhishek, Head, and even K. Nitish Reddy. So, we cannot save the overs of a bowler for a particular matchup. So we have to bowl him regardless of whoever is batting, because all of them will go right from the ball one to score as many runs as they can. So there will be no matchups like the bowler has to bowl in front of all these deadly batsmen.
You just brought up Reddy.
Yeah.
Reddy. Yep. I've been very, very impressed with him. Now, what impact do you reckon he'll have tonight? I'll go with you, Eshan, because you brought him up first.
Well, I'm expecting him to get out on the first ball and get hammered for at least 50 runs. That's what I, as a KKR fan, is expecting. But I think that he's a genuine all-rounder. And I think after Hardik, he's the first genuine all-rounder that we have got who bowls at the speed of more than 135, who can bat at number 4 and play consistent innings of 70-80 runs. Like, he has got a decent domestic record in Ranji Trophy, in Syed Mushtaq, and in Vijay Hazare. Means all the three formats. So he's a genuine player. Let's see what he turns out of him. Like, we have seen Rajat Patidar 2 playoffs back. What a beast he came out. So I'm not expecting him to become something like that. But he can be a beast for India in future as well. He needs to be groomed really well.
Definitely. What about you, Jargon?
Well, I tell you, for all these kids, that are just playing their first IPL appearance, and they made their mark during the league stage, this is the time to, show what they have in them. Because if they come put on a show and playoff in a game like this, the sky is the limit for those kids. They're going to get good chances, because the country needs all-rounder. Right? It's kind of safe to say India do not have any. Okay, that's the reason why we have impact players.
Yep.
Okay. Rule. So if we had good all-rounders, like fast bowling all-rounders, the spinners. So I doubt BCCI would have even come up with the impact player rule. So we got to have the likes of Reddy's show up, and if he shows up today, it's great. It's good for Indian cricket. May not be good for KKR fans, but I'm fine with it.
I really hope he shows up tonight and really puts KKR on the back foot, because I'm here to want to watch entertainment, but I also want to watch a youngster come in and deliver and show that he's really, or show his true ability and show his ability under pressure. I think he's going to topple Hardik Pandya as India's number 1 all-rounder in 2 years' time at least. Give it 2 years. Hardik Pandya, I'm just a little bit worried at the present moment. His batting fallen off, and he's not bowling quite the same at the moment as well. I think he's lost a lot. So Umran, talking about Umran Malik tonight, using him as an impact player, would you think about using Umran tonight? I just think he leaks too many runs. Jargon, you're going for Sunrisers Hyderabad?
Well, I'm not very sure I would do it because I do not know. Here is a guy who hasn't gotten much game time throughout the season. I'm not very sure you would just put him on the park in a crunch game like this, and given his tendency to leak, right? And keep in mind, KKR's got some massive strikers of the cricket ball, right? So you don't want him, leaking away a lot of runs. So I'm not too sure if I were sitting in the management, if I would be brave enough to make that call.
What about you, Eshan?
So personally, I also feel that Umran is not that great of a choice to start with as an impact, but he has got a great record against KKR given the matchups we can see. Like Shreyas Iyer is not that good a player of pace bowling. So is Nitish Rana. So is Venkatesh Iyer. They all struggle against extreme pace and bounce. So he can be an asset in that context, but still on the given day, I won't pick him.
Yeah, I'm a little bit up in the air with it at the moment because they don't have Salt. They have Gerbos in there with Narayan opening the batting. And I just think the extra pace, and you've just brought up Iyer as well, he might be able to expose those three, and he might be able to expose Andre Russell out the back end as well. So there's 4 batsmen that you might be able to utilise him with. So, yeah, even though he has not been in the lineup that much this year, I just reckon it's an impact player on a big stage, and if there's due, that gives extra pace as well on a night like tonight. I might take that risk because what they've got in the team now, they've got Bhuvaneshwar, Natarajan, Cummins, Shabazz Ahmed. They've got a couple of bowlers there that can and Nedish Reddy that can cover any poor overs that he bowls. So if he bowls one poor over, they've still got other bowlers or other options there to fill those 3 overs. And really, you look at the other impact players there as well. There's really not much there that can make an impact. And if he comes on, gets 2 quick wickets with those particular batsmen, that especially Narayan, who's done some damage, he's worth the risk. So for me, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's a huge risk, but it's a risk worth taking with the depth that they've got in that bowling lineup. Now, we've got about another 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Any more questions from you guys? Oh, hang on. Wali Boyer, do you think Travis Head and Henrik Klassen is more destructive than Andre Russell and Sunil Narayan? Right, I'm going to throw it back to you, Jargon, first.
Without a doubt.
Yep. Why?
Absolutely. I mean, to start up, they are frontline batters.
Yep.
Okay. They have done this over and over again. Their success rate being a power batter across formats, and there's a very good track record to look at, right? Sunil Narayan has been a bit of a resurgence, right? I do not know whom to give credit to, probably to Gautam Gambhir, to put him back at the top and, bring some of his, batting skills back. Nobody expected that coming, right?
Yep.
Dre Russ being Dre Russ, it's been a bit of a hit and miss, right? That's why he bats where he bats. But Travis Head coming right at the top, right? Has the first 6 overs to make use of. If he gets going, we have seen that. Yes, he has done that. I would any day think those 2 guys definitely are. I'll put them on the park first.
Right. Yep. I can't argue with you there. What about you, Kishan?
So Head and Klassen both are technically far more superior than Russell and Naren. But the reason why Russell and Naren are playing for KKR for so many years is because of their double abilities, batting and bowling. So in that aspect, Russell and Narine are more precious. But from the point of view of attack, Travis and Henrik Larsson without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're looking at impact with the bat, I think Travis Head and Henrik Larsson absolutely awesome, brilliant. And I think Larsson, he's got to carry that lower order as well in the back end. If he doesn't carry that lower order, Sunrisers Hyderabad will be gone tonight and through the final series. So there's a lot of pressure on him, and just the way that he delivers day in, day out, I just think it's sensational. Andre Russell, a bit sceptical against pace, so that's something that you'd go after. But Sunil Narayan is probably the most important player in this year's IPL because he bats, and with a high strike rate opening the batting, he gets you off to a good start. But then with the ball, he's very economical. So I think the most valuable player in this year's IPL would have to be Sunil Narayan. But when it comes to impact with the bat, I agree with both of you there. Now, have you guys got any other questions before we crack on? Oh, we've got another one, AK. You're snicking them in there. Anupam, unfortunately, my CSK is out of the playoffs. But apart from injuries, what else went wrong for CSK? Now I've missed my chance to be part of another HOGGOUT. Happens, Anupam. Bad luck, mate. But we've got Jargon here. You, Jargon, what do you think about what went wrong with CSK this year?
I don't know, mate. I really thought this year CSK, with the team that they had at the beginning of the season, I thought they gave themselves a fantastic opportunity to do something special because they have won titles, right? With the playing 11, which probably had one or two players from the 11 that plays for their international side, right? Maybe a Jadeja, right? So they managed to win titles with that team. This team had a lot of good players, a good mix of young and up and coming players. I had a lot of hopes. Trust me, things really went down south for some reason. And also, we saw them losing all their key bowlers, right? Patirana was a huge blow. And, then Mustafizur, right?
Yep.
Deepak Char. So, and they lost a lot of, good fast bowling, options. Midway through the season. Then also the captaincy change. I do not know. There are some instances, the playing 11 and Ruturaj Gaikwad's over-reliance on fast bowlers, not giving the spinners the full quota of 4 overs, right? That did not have Dhoni's stamp on him, right? And also their constant chopping and changing of the 11. That's not what Dhoni does, right? So... But anyway, it is done.
Yep, no, it's done. I totally agree with everything you've said there. Eshan, I'll let you go before I have my 2 bobs worth.
Okay, so the sole reason I think that they have lost this year was the lack of proper replacements. Like they were not having good options even in the backups as well as unsold players. So they had to persist with the players who were coming up in the lineup, and they were not showing the quality performance for which they were paid for. And as Jagan mentioned, the constant chopping and changing in the batting order. Like we haven't seen Dhoni touch their 2 openers for 4 years. When Watson and Faf used to open, and then Faf and Rituraj, then Rituraj to Conway. These are the hardly 3 opening pairs that I've seen in 4-5 years. But in this season itself, we have seen 2-3 opening pairs. So that is something that shows that Dhoni was not captaining, and we have got someone new who's there.
Yeah, I just think the batting order, obviously the injuries. I think if you had Mustafiza and Patirana there, especially at the back end, both of them bowling in the death, I still think they would have got through to the playoffs. So they were huge losses. But chopping and changing the batting order, having Jadeja come up the order, then going back down the order was also a bit of a problem. So for me, there was no consistency there. And for a team that was in the top half most of the year, they should have been keeping that consistency, especially with their opening pair. Because if you look at all the teams that have come through to the playoffs, they've been consistent with their opening pair for the whole tournament. And this is where KKR are going to have a hole tonight. They don't have the original opening pair that they've had for the whole season. So, and that's the same with Rajasthan Royals as well. So those two teams are on the back foot going in the playoffs because your start is most important. So, yeah, very good observations there, both of you. Now, any last questions before we head off and watch this game? Yes, Jargon?
So if you look at this particular game tonight, you have three Aussies between both teams, right?
Yep.
Most probably, and all of them are marquee players, right?
Yep.
As an Australian yourself, how happy or nervous about having these three men playing high intensity IPL playoff games with the World Cup right around the corner?
I'm happy with it because you're getting to play under pressure just before a big World Cup tournament. So it's a good lead in. And Mitchell Starc has had a few issues moving forward. He hasn't had the best performances on the board, but he hasn't bowled too badly. When you look at performances, you can look at the stats, but then you can look at the areas that he's bowled. I've been pretty happy with the way that he's bowled, and I think he's just starting to find form out the back end there. Pat Cummins, I'm very happy with him bowling. The more overs they get under their belt before in match play, not in nets, but in match play before a World Cup, it's going to be something special. I'm more worried about Travis Head because he's been playing as the impact player. He's been sitting on his backside when Sunrisers Hyderabad have been fielding, and that's a worry for me going into the World Cup because he hasn't been or he's not fully match fit as say. So he plays, he bats, and then is he keeping up that fitness off the field? Because when it comes to the World Cup, if your fielding's not up to scratch, you're not running around the field, and you're a little bit lethargic, that could cost Australia out the back end. So I'm probably more worried about Travis Head not fielding than the two bowlers going out there and going head to head. And look, if I was Mitchell Starc, I'd be testing Travis Head as well. It'll be very competitive out there. They'll be going hard at each other as we always do, because at the end of the day, the best preparation is one where your mate puts you under a lot of pressure. So that's what I'll be expecting tonight. The Australians going head to head. So yeah. Have you got another question, Eshat?
Yeah, I have got one. So this is the last one. Yeah. So regardless of whatever the outcome is for this IPL, whether KKR wins or loses, should KKR go ahead and retain Shreyas Iyer or they should let him go? Forget about whether he gets a 10 in the next 2 or 3 matches. But over the last 4 to 5 years, he has gotten a strike rate of around 120 with an average of around 20-25. And he's not peaking at right times. He has often let go big innings by getting out at 30s. And he's not keeping up his batting standards as they should be from an expected future captain. So do you think that KKR should let go Shreyas Iyer and focus more on retaining their future options, like maybe like someone like Ramandeep or Rinku and Nitish Rana for that matter, or they should persist with Shreyas Iyer given that he has given such an amazing season to them with his captaincy?
Randeep Singh, I'd like to see more of him. He's been sensational in the field and he's got a bit of power to bat. I would like to see him with more options. But for me, I'd still keep Andre Russell and Narayan. I think that they're the core of the group. I'd really think hard about Shreyas Iyer, especially with the strike rate that you've mentioned there, because the game's changed. The strike rate has gone up. Has he got the ability to change his game? They'll be the questions that you'd be asking in the dugout. So Nitish Rana, I'd think about trying to keep him in, even though he was injured most of the season this year. I think he's got more upside than Shreyas Iyer when you're looking at that aggressive style of cricket. And I think he might be able to captain the team as well. And out of the Indians, I'd probably try and keep Rinku Singh as well. Because having someone coming in the back end like he does, that would be awesome. So you keep Narayan. Hopefully he can continue opening the batting, and then hopefully you can get someone like a Phil Salt in the mega auction next year. So for me, Narayan, Russell, and I didn't want them to keep Russell the last IPL, the last mega auction. I thought that was a big risk, but he's proving his weight in gold. And Nitish Rana, they'll be the three that I'd be trying to keep. And I'd even think about trying to keep Chakravarti again as well. So yeah.
What about Harshit Rana?
I was thinking about him just before. I was thinking about him as well. He's been very good in the death overs over the last couple of weeks as well. So someone young, fast.
Young, fast.
Yeah. You take a risk with that because you take a risk because the strength with KKR is that Chakravarti and Narayan have been really controlling those middle overs. Do you want to lose that impact that's controlling the game probably in one of the most important periods? So the pressure that they create also creates pressure at the final 5 overs where batsmen have to go harder to try and catch up with the run rate. So that's probably where when you talk about Harshit Rana, it'll be a little bit tougher to keep him in that 4. If you're going to go with Harshit Rana, I'd probably keep Narayan and not so much Russell, and keep Rinku Singh because then you've got quality Indian players. But the other asset that you have with Andre Russell as well, where I'm going around in a circle now, is Andre Russell and Narayan are very close mates, and when you've got 2 West Indian players that are very close, you want to keep them in your team. So, I'll go with Rinku Singh, Russell, Narayan, and Chakravarti. Yep, for those reasons that I've said. What do you think about that, Jargon?
Well, perfect. But one thing I would say is at this point of time, nobody knows what the retention rule is, right? So BCCI being BCCI, I don't know. BCCI being BCCI, you never know, can come up with something new. So around the retention rules. So it's too early, but I'm sure we all are favorites. But all those names are good names, like Ishan, and some very good points about concerns, especially his concerns around Shreyas Iyer's batting. I completely agree with him. But you can have only 4 players as per the current rules, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think I think cricket has to go the draft way, not the auction way. But that's for another day for sure.
Yeah, I'd rather the draft because then you can keep your core crew there.
Absolutely.
Yep. And Anupam asks, which team will you support if it's a KKR and RR final? That's a tough one. I'd say I'd have to support KKR because I think they've got better depth in their team. That's a very good question, Anupam. You're really testing my loyalty there. Before we go, Jargon, just quickly, you're a CSK fan. Who would you retain if there was 4 players to retain next mega auction?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. I've not even thought about it. Ruturaj Gaikwad, of course, for sure. Okay.
Yep.
So, I can have 1 overseas player, right?
Yep.
I would go with Rachin Ravindra. Right?
Really?
That's the board that we clearly missed. That's the board that we clearly missed this season. We didn't play him enough.
Right? Yep.
So Rachin Ravindra, of course. And I said Ruturaj Gaikwad. Jadeja have to keep. No other choice. And Shivam Dubey. Okay.
Yep.
I can't think of the 4th guy, honestly.
Oh, you've just gone Jadeja, Gaikwad, and Debay, and you've gone Ravindra. So that's 4.
4.
I would have gone Paddy Rana instead of Ravindra, because to have someone of that quality bowling in the death overs,
he breaks down often.
Yeah, that's the big worry. You spend money on that. But guys, we've come to the end of the show. The game started, and Stark to head, second successive duck in a row. Stark has bowled him.
It's a good day for Ishan. Good luck, mate, Ishan.
Thanks.
Yeah, good luck. Now, thanks very much for joining us tonight, guys. And anyone who wants to join us, get on the Google form, and you can join us live like Ishan and Jagan on HOGGOUT. Thanks, guys, and KKR to win tonight from me.